The PlayStation 4 Pro is the current most powerful console on the market. Sony advertises it as a 4K console, and that's only kind of correct. While the PS4 Pro is capable of streaming videos in 4K and even playing some games in native 4K resolution, like The Last of Us, that doesn't mean that every single game can run in 4K on the console, not even those supported with PS4 Pro patches. In terms of design, the PS4 Pro is only slightly bigger than the size of the original PS4. Aesthetically, it looks like a PS4 Slim sandwich, and I'm not really a big fan of that design. On the front of the console there are two buttons, a power and an eject button, although they're the skinny slim physical buttons that resemble the buttons on the original PS4. I really wish Sony would have gone with PS4 Slim styled buttons instead, as those are harder to press accidentally while walking by the console. Also to the right of the eject button are two USB ports for your flash drives and your charging cables. On the back of the console you have your power port, which is similar to the one on the original PS3, an HDMI 2.0 port, a camera port so you can use PSVR with this, an optical audio jack, an extra third USB port, and finally the Ethernet jack. The PlayStation 4 Pro is $100 more than the current price of a PS4, for a total of $400. What does that extra $400 get you? Well, it gets you a 30% faster clock CPU, jumping from 1.6 GHz to 2.1 GHz, and double the GPU performance at a faster clock speed of 911 MHz compared to 800 MHz on the original PS4. Now what does this techno mumbo jumbo mean for the average gamer? Well, to put it simply, games will look better on the PS4 Pro, either in higher resolution or with a faster frame rate as long as game developers patch their games to work with the PS4 Pro. If you play Destiny on your new PS4 Pro, it will look exactly the same as it does on any other PS4, and this is because the game developers chose not to patch the game for it. While other games like The Last of Us, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and Rise of the Tomb Raider all have patches to work with the PS4 Pro, but they all don't get the same benefits. Take for example The Last of Us. This game runs at a native 4K resolution at 30 frames per second. This makes the entire game look sharp and crisp, and it's definitely noticeable when compared to the original PS4. There's also an option to run it at the higher 60 frames per second mark, but it drops the resolution down to 1800p instead. Rise of the Tomb Raider's 4K mode isn't necessarily native 4K, but it definitely is a higher resolution than 1080p. Square Enix hasn't specified the exact resolution of the 4K mode, but most likely it's running somewhere between 1440p and 2K resolution. Square Enix also chose to add an option to run the game at a faster frame rate at 1080p, meaning if you don't have a 4K TV, you can still use the PS4 Pro's extra power to run the game at 60 frames per second compared to 30 frames per second on the original PS4. There's even a third option where you can lock the frame rate to 30 frames per second 1080p and have higher quality looking textures, but in all honesty it's really hardly noticeable. As you can see, games can vary greatly in just how they choose to use the PS4 Pro's extra power. Rise of the Tomb Raider is the best example of how developers should handle the PS4 Pro. Give the gamer the option to choose. Let them choose to either have a higher frame rate or better looking visuals. Other games like Uncharted 4 don't really give the player an option to choose. Uncharted 4 forces you to run the game at a higher resolution that's not even 4K native resolution, but somewhere along the lines of 1440p. Sadly, you don't even have the option to choose to run the game at 1080p with a faster frame rate if you wanted to. And that's really where the problem lies with the PS4 Pro at the moment. The main reason to buy the system is for its extra power, and more often than not, game developers that have patched their games force you into a specific upgrade, without giving you the option to choose whether it's frame rate or resolution. And even worse, when they don't give you the option to choose, they don't even tell you what the upgrade is. You just kinda have to guess for yourself. Outside of video games, you can also stream 4K content to your PS4 Pro. Netflix and YouTube are the big 4K streaming services on PS4 Pro at the moment, with more support from other media applications coming in the following months. Sadly, the biggest negative in terms of 4K media is the lack of a 4K Blu-ray player. It's just something Sony really dropped the ball on this generation. Now, I asked a bunch of you guys on Twitter for any PS4 related questions you guys wanted me to answer in this review, so let's get started. Do PS4 Pro patches cost money? No, if you have a game that supports the PS4 Pro like The Last of Us and Rise of the Tomb Raider already, they'll support PS4 Pro when you get the console. You don't need to pay extra money to get a patch to have it support the PS4 Pro. If the patch already exists, it's free. Do games look significantly better on the Pro compared to the original? Most definitely, so long as you're running them at a higher resolution or a faster frame rate. So for example, The Last of Us looks incredible in native 4K. It's the best the game has ever looked. Rise of the Tomb Raider on the other hand looks really great as well, as long as you're running it at a higher resolution or a faster frame rate. But if you choose to run it at 1080p 30 in exchange for better looking textures, it's really hardly noticeable, to be honest. So you better hope that the games you care about, that are pretty much the reason why you're buying a PS4 Pro, either have the option to choose either a higher resolution or a faster frame rate. Can you take a PS4 hard drive and put it into your PS4 Pro? Yes, if you were planning to buy a PS4 Pro and then just take out the hard drive from your PS4 and pop it into your PS4 Pro so you don't have to re-download everything, yes, you can do that. However, chances are that your PS4 original has a 500GB hard drive and your Pro has a 1TB hard drive, so I don't know if that's worth doing just to save you some time on the download. Is it worth buying if you want a better VR experience? The only real difference between the PSVR on PS4 Pro over the original PS4 are the loading screens. The load times for games are about 40% faster on the PS4 Pro over the original PS4. Image quality in game isn't necessarily that much better, but there's definitely less texture popping happening, and high resolution textures load faster than on the PS4 when moving closer to objects. Do you think it's worth buying it for 1080p TV people for the FPS and the visual effects? That really depends on the game you want to play. If the game you want to play offers a higher frame rate option, then I say it's definitely worth it. But if the game developer chooses to lock the frame rate at the current frame rate of the original PS4 and just improve the quality of the textures, then no, it's not worth the extra upgrade. Can you change the performance benefits you get with the PS4 Pro? Yes, as long as the game you're playing has the option to choose frame rate over resolution or resolution over frame rate, you'll usually be able to change the benefit within the game's menu in the options menu under display. So, should you buy a PS4 Pro? If you're buying a PS4 for the first time and the PS4 Pro may be your first one, then I say go for it. Paying an extra $100 for better performance and a better frame rate is definitely worth it. Now, if you already have a PS4 and you're thinking of upgrading, here's what I recommend. If you have a 4K TV that could take advantage of the higher resolution performance and the 4K streaming, then I say it's worth getting so long as the games you care about are supported. For me, that's games that are coming out in the very near future like Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 2.8. Both of those games are either only on console or only on PS4, and as fans of that series, I like to play them in the best performance that I can at the moment. With that said, a lot of the games that support the system right now at launch are older games that you've probably played already and don't really want to replay again just because they look prettier. I'd say if you have a 4K TV, pick up the PS4 Pro when the games you care about are supported. As for anyone thinking of upgrading that only has a 1080p TV, that's a harder sell. I really only think it's worth upgrading for 1080p TV users if there's a higher frame rate option in the game you want to play. And that just ultimately comes down to what games do you want to play on this thing, and does that game developer actually support the PS4 Pro? You'll pretty much have to do research on the games you care about to see if they will support the PS4 Pro. If they do, then go for it, and if they don't, then save yourself the money. Thank you all so much for watching this review. If you liked it, please consider smashing that like button and sharing it with your friends. It really does help my channel grow, and I really do appreciate it. And while you wait for my next video, here are some links that you can check out even on mobile if you click on the screen. There's an unboxing of the collector's edition of Sword Art Online Hollow Realization, and a review of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Thank you all very much for watching, have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.